Jeez.
Okay, dumb football questions. Let's do some dumb football questions here, boys.
Let's go.
We got time for 2 or 3.
Give me some good ones, dude. Come on.
Okay, let's start with Robert White, who says, I like this question. How was the reality of the NFL compared to what you thought it would be like before you got to the NFL?
Oh, that's okay. So wait, are we talking about reality of like high school? Because when I was in high school, the show Playmakers came out. Remember that show?
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, there's no way that it's like this at all. And then you kind of get up there and you're like, now I see why this show got canceled. I totally understand the whole vibe of that show. Like I think you're
the
more.
The NFL got that show canceled, right?
No shit, they did, dude. They were like, cut this shit off now. But I will be honest with you. In high school, I thought it was like a gag, right? Like you'd be like, oh, there's no way these guys do anything. They're just born this great. Like you really think that at one point. But then you go to college and these coaches are constantly around you, and kids that are in the pros are coming back and they're like, dude, it's all fucking work. It is all work. Now, you might get lucky and get put on a team that does walkthroughs all day, but I can promise you one thing, that coach is getting fired next year. Like, you're not going to be doing the same thing. The coaches that stick around are the ones that bust your ass. Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, both of those guys. I mean, just go through our top 10 list. How many of those coaches do you think give you an easy day of work? You think D'Amico Ryans is out there like, it's okay, guys, we can just do a walkthrough. Like, they prepare you. And I was very fortunate that I had Coach Tressel, and he made us run more than any fucking college coach I had ever met. Dude, we touched every stair on the 4th of July of the stadium. And in between every section, you had to run 5 gassers. Oh. And then you had to go to the next section and run the lower bowl and then run 5 gassers. And then you run the mid bowl and you run 5 gassers. And then you run the whole shoe side all the way up, all the way down. And then you run 5 gassers. And you run the top bowl. And then you run like, they were like, dude, this is not a joke.
Should have played for a smaller college.
Right? Instantly, bowl. You're like, hey, do they do this at the next level? And they're like, it's worse. And you don't think it could get worse, but you remember, like, when you're in college, half of the day you're at football and the other half you're just being a normal kid. You're in a classroom where it's air conditioned. You're sitting down taking notes. When you're in the NFL, it is 12 hours all day, every fucking day. You're taking notes. I have the rookies coming back like, God, I didn't think it was really going to be like that, but it was. I was like, dude, they'll find shit to watch. They'll watch shit from years ago. They'll watch shit that they think might be relevant. They might even be pulling shit up just to fuck with you because they want you to sit in this room so they can have eyes on you. And they know that if you're in this room, you're not at a bar. You're not at a strip club. You're not at any club. You're in the room with them. Like, that's why they keep you here. And 2, they want to make sure you are dialed in, locked in at all times. Like, I was very prepared, and I was very fortunate that I had great people around me and great coaches. And that's one of the things that makes our gym kind of successful, is that we're always trying to prep our guys for the next level. And people are always like, well, that's hard to do. It's not. We sat in those rooms forever. I could give you a whole day right now. And there's times where the guys leave the gym and they're like, that's exhausting. And I'm like, that's a normal, like, Monday. That's like we just watched the game, got an easy lift in and went home. Like, wait till we make you go out and practice all the things you fucked up. Wait till they put all the worst defenses against all the best plays that we have. And you're like, there's no way we can win this situation. You got to find a way to win it. Like, everything is so hard. And I really do think about that a lot, about the guys coming in that are unprepared and they think it's just a joke and it's a bunch of big guys fucking around, dipping their faces off. It's like, dude, it is the exact opposite. You can fuck around in your spare time and be a dickhead when you want, but for like 12 hours of the day, you're very quiet. You're taking tons of notes. You're constantly asking questions about other questions about what ifs. And Jay will tell you the what if questions are the worst. Hey, what if? And you're like, fuck, don't say that. Don't. What if the safety comes down? Fuck.
No.
Yeah, coach, go. Think about that. Hold on.
Let's walk through it. Let's put it on the board.
Yeah. Somebody draw it up. Man. Oh, God.
I think for me, the biggest, like, reality was, like, I anticipated that when you got into the NFL, everyone was going to be extremely professional, right? Like, player, coach, like, it was going to be more like a business, right? When you showed up, and then you show up and you realize it's a bunch of giant children. Right, like, I like, that was just kind of like my read, was like, everyone's going to be buttoned up. This is my job. Like, I take this very seriously, 24 hours a day, no matter what. And there was some of that to an extent, but then you have the dudes that are like, oh, I just play football, man, and are so ridiculously talented that you're like, oh, you're just a child. Like, and you're actually, like, not all there in the head, but, like, you're a really, really good football player. And then, like, I really didn't anticipate how hard it was going to be to take 53 guys from 53 different walks of life and bring them together for one common goal, right? Because in college, you all show up with kind of your class, right? And you kind of grow with your class, and you lose some guys, you add some along the way. You're like, you know these dudes over 4 or 5 years of college, and like by the end of college, you guys know each other inside and out. You show up to the NFL, and you're like, I'm 22. That dude's 32, married, 3 children. That kid comes from being raised by his auntie, like didn't have a dollar to his name his entire life. Like this person came from a trust fund, and like you just have everyone thrown into a room, and it's like, figure it out, man. We have to go win football games in September.
Yeah.
And that for me was the most eye-opening of like, man, the teams that can do this the best are the teams that are going to win. Because winning that battle alone, just getting guys to agree on something of life or whatever it is, and not be at each other's throats constantly, because I'm from Nebraska and you're from Mississippi, and we see things in the world completely different. And
America can learn from an NFL locker room.
Dude, I've said this. We've said this before.
If you can plant like people in an NFL locker room when it's cut day from 90 to 53 and see the amount of characters that are in that locker room that can find a way to band together on one common purpose, it's incredible.
Yes.
Like, it's incredible the way you can just like shut that stuff away, have conversations, right? And that's the really good teams that can have the civil conversations about it. And then at the end of the day, be like, but we're still good, right? No animosity, no hate. Like that for me was, and I tell people this all the time, the most eye-opening thing that I had ever seen before when I walked in that NFL locker room.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. And hey, you don't think it would be hard to get 53 guys to be like, hey, we all want this shiny trophy, don't we? And these big $100,000 rings. We all want that, right? But the minute you start getting into the season and you're around each other, you don't realize how the chemistry, and that's why I sometimes go really hard at GMs, because it's their job to get the chemistry right. It's the coach's job to get the best out of the players. But the minute you throw in one bad egg, and Jay and I have seen this firsthand, it's crazy how infectious it can just instruct a team. Somebody comes, we've had guys, and Jay and I were on the same team here, and we had a guy come from another team that was like, man, we don't work this hard. Y'all working really hard. Instantly, half the team's like, yeah, we are working really hard. And you're like, shut the fuck up right now. You have no idea what you just said. Like, do you realize that you are at the pinnacle of where we've always wanted to be, and you just said we're working too hard? I don't think those words fucking ever match up. Like, ever. We are the most elite people, and you just said we're working too hard. They're like, man, other teams, we're walking through. I'm like, and where are your teams at right now? Well, you know, still getting paid. Yeah, no, the whole goal is to win. The whole goal is to hold up that trophy and go, we are the fucking best. Now you can kiss my ass. Like, we all want that ability.
Check still cashes.
Dude, there's
got to be
it's hard,
in any,
man. You're
any
dealing with those guys.
53-man or 90-man or 53-man, depending where you're at. There's almost no way it can be 100%. There's got to be some paycheck collectors in every.
Oh, absolutely,
room,
there
right?
is. But you keep
like
those
5%,
guys super
10%.
chill. You keep those guys super chill, and you're just like, hey, man, we're going for a common goal, and we're here to win. We're not here to do any. That's the whole mindset.
But the thing with
the season,
guys, the guy to the paycheck side is they're not really in or out, so they don't really cause a divide. They're just kind of there to do their job, right? Like, they're not mouthing off about like this is hard or like this guy's an idiot. Like, if they're truly just a paycheck guy, they're just going to show up there for work. They're not going to give you a minute extra, but they're also not going to steal a minute from you, right? And you can be all right with those dudes. You're all right, those guys. It's the issue when the paycheck guy becomes a loudmouth. That's when the issue becomes, because you're like, you have not watched a single extra minute of film, and I know you haven't, yet you're commenting on something about like how hard we're working or how tough practice is or like why is this test so hard, but yet you didn't put any money. Like, silence.
By the way, the test is open book, you dumbass. And you would have known that if you were listening. That's the best part about this. Like, guys come to me and they're like, God, this test is so hard. I'm like, it's open book, you fucking idiot. Like, you can go look at the answers. He's not at your house watching you take this. Like, they literally would be like, take this home, bring it back tomorrow, done. And guys would be like, this test is so hard. I'd be like, you're an idiot. Number one, you're an idiot. You don't know our offense. You're an idiot. Two, you have the answers right fucking here.
Could you just like call a teammate and collaborate on the answer?
Dude,
too?
The amount of times, I'm not going to name names, the amount of times I had a starter copy my test the morning before it was due made me want to blow my brains out.
No comment.
I'd be like, you're a starter.
This is where I get in trouble.
Like,
I get in a lot of trouble here.
Starter, dude. Like, I'm a backup. Like I got to be ready to play all 5. And like my tests were meticulous, dude. Like I had every 5 guy. I knew what all 5s. I had the calls written out in different colors. Like, dude, I was very detail oriented on my tests. And I'd show up on Saturday morning and be like, Sirles. I'd be like, here you go. Right. Like, because at the end of the day, I really hope you know what you're doing, because I'm not going to be the one out there unless you're hurt. Like that stuff used to drive me nuts.
I'm going to butt in line and throw my own dumb football question out. Because, I mean, we've talked about some of this off the mic. I mean, Jay, you've chosen to get into the agency business. And Booney, you've chosen to train offensive linemen sort of independently off to the side. But a lot of our audience, and even me, just over the past year has wondered, like, why wouldn't you guys work as offensive line coaches? Or why would you not want to work in the actual NFL or high-profile college football on a team and being part of, a team mission? Like, do you guys ever want to get into actual coaching?
I would have loved to be an offensive line coach. Loved it. I mean, I would have loved everything about it. The wife would not. And that was really, I mean, at the end of the NFL, when I told my wife, I was like, hey, maybe I'll go see if I can coach O-line with Scott Frost back in Nebraska when I retired. She goes, you want to go work more hours for less money when we just had a kid?
Yeah.
I was like, and that was the end of that conversation, right? Like, period, full stop. Like, there was no pursuing that more, because she had just battled with me through my 6-year career. And she was like, no, I'm not doing this just to ship you off so you can work and then move our family every 5 years. Like, that's the other part. Being a coach, like, would I love the ability to mentor and do all those things? Absolutely. But would I put my family through what I know some of my closest coaches have been through, right? I mean, one of my line coach from college, Barney Cotton, I played with 3 of his sons. They all played at Nebraska. But, like, they were like, yeah, he was born in Ames, and then he was born in Vegas, and then we moved to Arizona, and then we were at Nebraska for a little bit, and then we went to Iowa State again. It's just like this revolving door, and I don't want to do that for my kids.
Couldn't say that any better. I am not, you know me. I have to be at home, and the boys know in the gym at 2 o'clock I turn into a dad. You have me from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m., and after that I'm a dad. But I wouldn't say I would never do it. I think that when the kids get older and they go into college and they start doing their own thing, I might want to go into that. I mean, I obviously stay close with a lot of the coaches, and it'd be super fun, I think, when I'm older to do it, especially after having a gym of training some of the dudes, because it's super exciting to train these guys and things that they don't know. And you're training them at such a high level that it's some stuff that nobody knows. And so they're so, like, the ones that are really into it, they just hang on every word. And you can see them listening and taking it in and absorbing it. One of the guys in our gym that I love to death is Jalen Sundell. Jalen's from NDSU, and he's one of those guys that the minute he starts asking you questions, he's hanging on every word that you're asking, right? Like, he's constantly into it, and he's constantly learning and developing and growing, and you're like, dude, this is so fun. And I'm not just teaching you how to play O-line, like, I'm teaching you to play O-line at a super high fucking level against some of the greatest to ever do it. And it's like, these guys look at you and they trust in you a lot, and it's great to be able to do that. And I think that that's one of the things that, and you know me, I love all the coaches in the NFL. I have deep respect for them because they've given up a lot of sacrifice. A lot of them have sacrificed their families, their lives to do a tough fucking job. But I think the one thing that lacks with these coaches is the experience. And it's hard to coach somebody to go into a fight like that when you've never done it. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times I would go to the coaches and be like, what would you do here? And they would say something and I'd be like, that's the exact opposite of what I was thinking. And this is why, because I played a guy like this and he was good at doing this, or he was good at moving his hips, or his hands scare me because of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been in that situation. And even now when guys ask you about guys, they're like, hey, what do you think about this guy? Metabike from the Baltimore, like, guys will call and be like, what do you think about this guy? Like, fucking super quick. Like, you have to beat him to the spot. You want to give him space because you want to see where he's going. You never want to short a guy like that, because if he fucking kicks it on, you're going to be the worst time, right? Like, instantly you're talking at a different level and you're like, this is so exciting. It's memorized, like, especially when you start picking their brain, like, what are you thinking? And they're like, I'm thinking this. And you're like, why? And like, because I'm really fucking confident in this. And you're like, you sound like a warrior. I like you, kid. Like, it's just so into it.
I also think it's why Alex and I both got into the fields that we did, because we both get to still scratch that itch.
Yes.
Right. Like, the great part about the agency is, like, I get to select the guys that I want to coach. Right, because that's another part of the hard times as a coach. You don't get to select your guys all the time. Like, you have a guy that is a turd in the room, it's still your job to get the best out of him, regardless. Right? Like, in college, I would love to be a college line coach, but the idea of recruiting,
oh my God,
especially now,
being on the road, and now with NIL,
but also,
like,
you wouldn't. It's not like you would dial in. I mean, in a perfect world, you would say, okay, Nebraska, baby, let's make it happen. But guess what? So I just for fun, you guys have brought up, speaking of Nebraska, Bill Callahan is a great offensive line coach.
Love him.
So Bill Callahan started, and this is a dude who was a freaking head coach at Nebraska, and he's been top of the line offensive line coach in the NFL. Started his coaching career in 1979 at De La Salle Institute. So he's been coaching since 1979. He's never spent more than 5 years at one place.
Yeah.
So he's moving from state to different league over here, back to college. I mean, so if you have a family, they're either not going to see you or they're moving, right?
Yeah.
There is a special place in heaven for coaches' wives.
Oh, no
Oh
question.
my God.
Those ladies are iron. Like nothing breaks them. Like they are the true hardened warriors of like, honey, I got picked up. I got to go. I'm going to be the O-line coach at Notre Dame. Our season just ended. Pack up the house. I'll see you when you get there.
Yep.
Right? And they just say, got it. See you Notre Dame. Bye, honey. Like those ladies, shout out to every coach wife out there because they
For
are
real.
special.
Yeah. So, all right, let's wrap this episode. Good stuff.
Let's do it.
Good introspective stuff here. O-line
Football
committee.
season yet.
If it's almost training camp in 3 weeks.
Mike Tomlin at 13, you should be ashamed, Macadac. What the fuck is wrong with you?
After thinking about it, 8 years is a long playoff drought. I'm going to bump him below Kevin Stefanski.
Good to see ya.
Oh, dang.
Click that like and subscribe button, by the way.